success that I haven't really seen very many people talking about. And so I have titled this that no one is talking about. So that's what we're going to be talking about. I wanted to share a few observations, a few things that I have noticed, especially in working with high achieving women. And if you're brand new to me, please feel free to say hello, whether you're live or on the replay. Let me know where you're watching from. And my name is Susan McVeigh. I'm a married mama of two, and I am a business sales and wealth strategist. So today, the reason why this topic came up is because I was thinking about a past client who already had achieved a high level of success within a very short period of time. And when she came to me, she was already successful, right? So she wanted to accomplish bigger and better things, according to her, okay? And when we had this conversation around, what does success look like? If you missed the video all about like winners and losers and what they do differently, playing to win versus playing not to lose, I want you to go and watch that video because I think it might be helpful for you. But when she came and she started talking about her goals and what she wanted to be able to achieve, and she really wasn't surrounded by people who had accomplished the things that she desired. She did not come from an entrepreneurial background, and a lot of her friends worked a traditional 9-to-5 job. And so when she had achieved the level of success that she already had achieved, which was quite remarkable, all on her own through a lot of hard work, determination, grit, and just a lot of chutzpah, right? Like just doing the work and showing up and doing it every single day. She was on the verge of burnout. She had been already working for, I think it was like 18 months straight at that point, and had been working really long, arduous hours. So she was not getting a break. She was working through the weekends, and they were really, really long hours dealing with the public. Like she was in a service in a service, okay? So the type of business is not super important. The thing that I want us to remember is that, number one, she was already successful. She had already been able to accomplish this level of success on her own, through her own work and through her own determination, and because she desired to achieve the things that she had achieved. And so when she came to me for help, she wanted to be able to get to the next level, which I know is kind of just one of those really words that are used all the time. But again, these are the words that she used to describe what she wanted. So she wanted to get to the next level, but she did not have any more time or energy or focus or really any of her left to give, because at that point she was exhausted. So she was right on the verge of burnout, but she was not willing to forego her dreams and her desires simply because she had already achieved a certain level of success. Can you relate to that? Right? Hello, Josh. Thank you. You are so sweet for saying that. I appreciate you. So today I wanted to break down, because I was thinking about this past client of mine who had already achieved a certain level of success, and that when I'm working with high achieving women, that there's often a lot of stigma around being more, and accomplishing more, because there are things that come along with success that we don't hear people talking about simply because there aren't enough role models to demonstrate this. And also the people who are actually achieving a certain level of success, they, like my client, have done it through grit, determination, hard work, and a lot of I'm just gonna do it, and not always enjoy all of the moments as you go along. And because of that, sometimes when you're on the other side of that milestone of whatever is that definition of success, that you forget what it took to get there, because you're off and running, like your eye is on the next prize. And so that's what I wanted to talk about today, is the truth behind success. The things that I don't see people talking about that I know are real and relevant and can often stop us from being able to keep moving forward in a way that is aligned to what it is that you desire. So for me, I'm going to use words that may or may not be congruent to you, but I'm going to challenge you in just saying, pause your disbelief, leave it at the door, and allow yourself to know that you're probably here for a reason, for a purpose. I believe that God divinely brought us here for this moment because maybe we've never met before. And if that's the case, please feel free to say hello. But before we get too far into it, what I want us to think about is, and you're going to do this on your own, right? You can feel free to add them below if you want to. What is your definition of success? Because, and I talked about this in a previous video, by nature of defining success for you, you are automatically going to also simultaneously have to define failure. Now, we often don't think about that, right? So for this particular client, she wanted to go from where she was at, which was a high level of income, but she wanted to be a millionaire, which is often what a lot of my clients come to me for or with, or a deep desire. And it's not just always about the money, because most of my clients are impact driven. So they have a huge heart for service, a huge heart for leadership, but also philanthropy. They want more money so that they can help their families. They want to be able to help more people in the world at large, sometimes setting up foundations or charities as part of that. So when she had come to me to say this, I said, okay, great. What are the things that are going to get in the way? And she was already working hours, like I think it was at least 80 hours consistently. And she had been doing that for about 18 months, right? So had achieved a huge level of success, but it came at the expense of her health, her mental well-being, her spirituality, and her connection with God. It came at the expense of her being able to spend time with her loved ones, which was ultimately why she got into the business that she was in. She wanted more freedom. But while she had accomplished a certain level of financial independence, financial freedom, as she defined freedom, was still far, far away because she couldn't stop working. If she stopped working, then she didn't get paid. And if she didn't stop working the number of hours that she had, she couldn't see for herself how she could make up the difference for, here's what I do. And if I do all of these things, then it gets me a certain result. And if I stop doing those things and not spending the time to do that, then how in the world will I get the same result, which AKA the same level of success? So she was in, between a rock and a hard place. And that's why she came to me. So the thing that I think we don't often talk about, and I want you to let me know in the comments if there are things like any of this kind of resonates with you. So the first thing that I wanted to share is that for her, one of the main reasons why she came to get my help was she was extremely lonely. That despite her level of success, that nobody else could relate to her problems. Now, at the core, we're still all human beings, right? Like if I cut myself, I still bleed. I still have to eat dinner in, an hour or so. There are certain things that as human beings, we all go through. It doesn't matter where you live in the world. It doesn't matter how much money you make. It doesn't matter how old you are. There are certain just primary functions that as a human being, we all go through certain emotions. We all go through certain thoughts and behaviors. It's just a matter of how quickly we move through it, okay? And what we do when we're present with certain circumstances, because the reality is that depending on where you are in the world, depending on what you have access to, the tools, the resources, the people, the assets that you might have, that you have the ability to have more choice. And because you have more choice, you have more freedom. So when she came and she said, I'm extremely lonely. And this is not so much about like, I have no friends. It's really about the more success that you achieve, the less likely it is that somebody else is at the same level. And this is not about you being better or worse than somebody else. This is about, if you think about the most extraordinary people, the most successful people, and maybe that's you right now, that you have achieved a level of success that nobody else in your family has been able to accomplish. Like if you're the first person that has been able to go to college or university, then that level of success, nobody else in your family can relate to because they've not done it. If you're the first person to achieve a certain level of income, whether it's in a job or in a business, then again, there are people that are close to you right now that can't relate to you because they don't know what that's like. If you are the first person in your in your family to ever be an entrepreneur and nobody else knows what it's like to run a business, then the things that you're trying to build, the level of success that you're trying to keep moving up and up and up towards, they don't understand. So they don't understand when you say, I'm sorry, but I can't go out tonight because I have to do A, B, and C, right? When you have to run off to go meet a client, when you have to put together a proposal, when you have to go and figure out a pitch, when you are trying to network with a bunch of people and they're like, aren't you successful enough? Like, don't you have enough money? Don't you have enough things? And it's at some point, it becomes not about the money. It becomes not about the material things, right? That needs to be a bigger driver. And this is one of the other pieces that I don't think people talk about, which is that money and income and the material stuff that we have, those are not bad things. Those are all amazing and good, and they can improve the quality of the life that you get to spend your time on. But at some point, those things don't have as much impact, they don't have as much fulfillment, and they don't have as much meaning as they maybe once did. And that's why at some point, it becomes a very lonely road to continue to move forward success above and above, up and up and up and up and up, because nobody else really understands that those are not the things that fuel you, right? Like and maybe this isn't you yet, but when you have bought the houses, bought the cars, had the trips, and there's a point where you just can't spend all of that on your own. You literally can't, right? Like it's almost wasteful. And people judge you for the level of success that you have. People judge you for what you spend your money on. And that makes it so that the more success that you desire, the harder it can be to actually achieve that, because there is what's called the crabs in the bucket mentality. And that's what makes this journey so lonely. That's what makes this journey so difficult at times when you are one in a million, those are the clients that I work with. You are a diamond in the rough, you are extraordinary, and chances are you see things differently, you do things differently, and you just are different. And for most of your life, you've probably been made fun of or ostracized, right? Like you may have been bullied, you may have been isolated, you may have been the person that other people tell you no, or that's too much of anything. And so when you hear these messages and you have been able to, through hard work, determination, grit, just hard work, focus, and your own innate power, right? Your own skills and experiences, you have accomplished a lot of things. But when you want to get to the next level, it's not more power. It's not more effort. It's not more energy. It's not more work. Like that's not what's going to get you from here to there or there to there. Does this make sense? And because of that, it becomes harder and harder to find people who understand what it is that you need and how you can move from where it is that you are, which is already successful in the things that you've done, to being at a level of success that nobody else around you may have been able to accomplish, but also don't understand. And so if we go back to the crabs in the bucket, because I want to share this, because I think it helps to paint a picture of what this means. And you can Google this too, which I always recommend. Go and figure things out for yourself and go and validate things for yourself. Don't just be spoon-fed information. The point of me getting on here is so that you have a different perspective and a different awareness of what it is that you may be facing and going through or encountered in the past, and to help you to see things differently so that you can make different decisions, because our life is the outcome of the accumulation of all these decisions that we're making, and some of them we're making unconsciously. Like we're just moving with the flow of life as opposed to being proactive and saying, how do I want to plan out what the next day, year, decade looks like for me, such that when I look backwards, I can be proud of what I've been able to accomplish. And it is a reflection of what it is that I actually wanted to happen, as opposed to feeling like life has just done me in. So the crabs in the bucket, if you throw crabs into a bucket, there will inevitably be 1, 2, 3 crabs that try to climb out of the bucket, because if they sit in the bucket, they're going to die. okay? Because they're not supposed to be in a bucket. They're supposed to be in water. So the crab that's trying to escape, the other crabs will pull that crab down. And this scenario happens over and over and over again, where the crab tries to escape, AKA get to a higher level of success, actually accomplish something, right? Survival, or ultimately to thrive. But in this case here, that the crab's in this bucket, that one will try to fling itself out, right? Like, ah! And the other crabs will try and pull it down. And they will. They will continually do this, which makes it near impossible for that crab, no matter how much grit and determination and effort. I mean, he's outnumbered, she's outnumbered. And so when you are outnumbered by people who don't get what it is that you're trying to accomplish, of course, it's going to be difficult for you, not just in, generating the energy so that you can get out of the bucket, so that you can actually, go towards your goal, but because you're having to fight off all of the other crabs who are in the bucket below you, who don't want you to escape. They don't want you to get out of the rat race. They don't want you to get out of the grind of the 9 to 5. They don't want you to stop working hard. They don't want you to not be like them. And they're well-meaning, because oftentimes the people who are the crabs in the bucket are the people that are closest to us, our friends or our family, our work colleagues, other business people, because they're jealous, right? And they might not even realize that they're jealous, because they say all the right things. They say congratulations. They say that they're happy for you. And yet sometimes the questions that they ask, the other words that they use, the things that they say, they make you feel a certain way about yourself and about them and the relationship that you have with them, and ultimately about the progress that you're trying to make. And so that, to me, is an instant sign that you might be surrounded by people who might be crabs in your bucket. That is very lonely. People don't talk about this, right? And so I'm just going to refer to my notes here. It makes you feel, this is when people say stuff like, do you think you're better than us? No, I don't, right? You probably don't either. But when people don't relate because they don't have the same goals, dreams, and desires, and they start to think that you judge them because you think that you're better than them, that's not it. It's because you're going after a goal, you're going after a dream, you're living your life in a way that those people often wish they could have the courage or the determination, the faith to be able to do the things that you've either done or that you are still determined to do. Oftentimes, in my experience, the very people that are trying to keep us down, it's because they've tried to accomplish their dreams and their desires and they have failed, and it has been painful, right? And instead of getting back on that horse and trying a different way, or the same way, but maybe it just was the wrong time, they just give up. And as a result, they don't want you to get hurt. So their heart is in the right place, but unfortunately, it's just being demonstrated in a way that is not very helpful to you when you are trying to accomplish bigger and better things according to your own desires, your own dreams, and your own definition of success. So success can feel very lonely. It can feel like you don't relate to anybody and nobody relates to you, because the reality is at some point they won't. And you have to be okay with that, right? It can feel like rejection. It can feel like everybody is leaving me, and it feels like they're leaving you behind, but that's not actually true. The reality is that you're gonna have to move ahead, right? And at some point, allow your success to speak for itself, and then to help shift those people who are behind you so that they can come on board. And some people won't. Some people will never be on board. We have to reconcile that, right? And that's a part of the journey. The second thing that I wanted to share was that, which I alluded to already, at some point, the material things that you desire while that may drive you initially, right? So achieving a certain level of income, achieving a certain level of assets, buying your first house, being able to afford a luxury car, taking your family on beautiful vacations, like these are all great. But at some point, you will hit a tipping point where the level of success, material success that you have achieved, and the level of material success that you desire to achieve, how many more cars, how many more pieces of clothing, how many more purses, right? Like the material stuff that you have no longer provides the same level of fulfillment. It no longer provides you with the same level of just internal satisfaction. And it no longer is the motivating factor. And when that happens, it can feel a little deflating, because you're kind of like, well, now what? What happens when you have a huge goal like becoming a millionaire and you've accomplished that? And then what? Right? And so most of my clients, again, like I have shared, they have an impact goal. And I find that if you actually focus more on the level of impact that you make in the world with the thing that you're called to do, the greater the outcomes that you're going to experience, the greater the results that you'll see, and the higher the likelihood that you will continue in the face of difficulties. And also, it means that as you accomplish those great things and you continue to have that level of success, up and up and up and up and up, the Bible says that we go from glory to glory to glory to glory, that you won't want to stop. That you won't want to stop. That you won't think to yourself, now what? Now what do I do? Because that's a very real scenario for very successful, high achieving women and also men, right? When you have achieved a certain level of, here's all the things that I thought I would accomplish by this point in my life, now what? And if you continue to focus on just goals, as in like how much money, the things that I want to buy, the things that I want to experience, those are all important. But again, if you consider something that's more fulfilling to you, again, for most of my clients, it's going to be an impact-driven goal, result, or outcome. That is going to drive you when things don't look like they're going to work, or when you are feeling stuck, or like you've hit a plateau, because there's something much more meaningful that's driving you forward. And that could be something for your family. It could be something for your community. It could be something for the world at large. That's up to you to determine. But if it's all about material things, it becomes very shallow very quickly, and it becomes very empty and meaningless. Once you've achieved all of those material goals, you kind of lose your motivation and your drive to keep going, and it becomes harder and harder. And as a result, it makes you feel like, I just have to keep working harder at this. And that's not the case. Working harder is often not what's going to get you from one level of success to the next level, to the next level, to the next level. Most of the time, it's going to be rearranging the way that you have achieved things before, such that the output is better quality and the time that it takes you goes down. Okay? So the example that I want to give to you about this one is the golden handcuffs. Now, oftentimes we hear this talked about in the world of corporate, where the higher up you go, the harder it becomes to leave, because of the financial, like, you're handcuffed, right? And they're gold handcuffs because it's more valuable. And the reality is, there are a lot of people with a great resignation, with what is that, like silent quitting, that there are a lot of people who hate what they do and they are successful at it, right? But they are chained to it. Those are the golden handcuffs. And when we operate life from that place where we feel like we are a victim of our own success, I was there. It becomes harder and harder for us to actually find fulfillment and do meaningful work. And it doesn't mean that the thing that you're doing right now, like as in the job that you're doing, it doesn't mean that that job itself, the work, the kind of work that you're doing is not aligned. It just means that there's probably something about the structure of how it's being pulled out of you, whether it's inside of a job, your corporate career, a business, or some other type of vocation that is not aligned, that there is some way of that expression of it that is making you feel like you're stuck. And oftentimes it's because we're focused on the material pieces, and those material pieces have stopped giving us fulfillment, and yet we feel like we are enholden, like we're connected to that. That's why the golden handcuffs, right? And the minute that you are able to figure out for yourself, what would it look like for you to actually have what it is that you desire, but inside of a container, inside of an environment that would allow you to actually find deeper fulfillment or meaning or purpose, then I guarantee that something else is probably going to show up for you when you give yourself the space to be able to create an opportunity for that to show up, as opposed to it all being about just the money or the title or the job or the clients or the structure of the business. You can change just about everything in your life. And will there be consequences? Yeah, there will be. But if you think thoughtfully through that, and sometimes you need help to do that, then you're going to be able to figure out a way that will allow you to get out of those handcuffs and still keep the gold. The third thing, disconnection. That at some point, every successful person feels disconnected from the level of success that they have accomplished and the level of success that they still want to accomplish. How do I know? Because this is what I've helped thousands of people through, including myself, right? So I first had to do this work with myself. And gosh, almost 10 years ago now, I was extremely successful in corporate, but had a breakdown. Mental, physical, emotional, like it was a whole thing. It's a whole situation. And at that time, the greatest issue for me was I was completely disconnected from me, from what I wanted, from what was important. And I had never really taken the time to reflect. Here's where I am in this life at this moment. Did what I planned to do 5 years ago, even a year ago, does it still align? Is it still something that I actually want to do in real life? Not just on paper, not just what I planned for, but now in the doing of it, now in the living of it. Is this something, this definition of success, does it still meet my standards? And I wasn't honest with myself because of all these reasons that I've shared with you. Like, this is the journey that I had to go through to figure out, you know what? The reason why I'm having this complete breakdown and all of this chronic pain and illness is, yes, there was a physical thing that happened to me, for me, but at the same time, the reason why my body is holding on to all of this pain and suffering is because it hasn't dealt with the fact that I have not felt fulfilled, even despite the success, despite the fact that I was getting promoted, despite the fact that I was still, achieving huge results. There was still something missing. And so there was a complete disconnection, and it manifested for me in the fact that my head and my body were completely separated in terms of how I operated. So I was separating how I felt and thought and processed pain, physical pain, emotional pain, spiritual pain, like all of it. My head was just focused on, here's what I need to do, here's the goal, here's the result, here's the actions, go, 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 go. And I completely disconnected from the rest of my body to the point where I could not even recognize how much pain I was enduring, I was going through, I was suffering, I was holding on to until the breakdown. I didn't even recognize myself. And when we have a certain level of success, sometimes it can come at a cost. I hope that in me sharing this, that it helps you not to get to that point. But I'd say 9 times out of 10, that especially for high achieving women, that they've either encountered burnout or on the verge of burnout, or they have overcome burnout or known somebody to deal with some form of burnout, some form of chronic disease or illness, or some form of chronic pain, some kind of suffering that has shaped and impacted how they do things, and as a result can sometimes be a sticking point for how they continue to do things moving forward so that they can achieve the level of success that they actually desire in this next season. The disconnection that we face, the disconnection between who we are being and the level of success that we have achieved and the level of success that we continue to want to work towards, is going to be a big sticking point. And so part of this is that the disconnect is that we're so focused on what is the goal, what is the dream, what is the desire, what is the outcome, that we are completely not in the moment of enjoying the journey. Being able to say, regardless of the outcome, regardless of the result, regardless of whether or not I accomplished the next level of success, which I know if you're on here at any point, that chances are very high that you are already successful and you will always be successful. It just might look different. It might feel different. It might, the pathway might be different than what you had imagined. And that's actually a good thing. But as we do this, we have to give ourselves a lot of grace, and we have to give ourselves a lot of space, right? To be able to reflect and to say, is this something that I actually want or enjoy? Is this actually giving me fulfillment? And can I imagine myself doing this for the next foreseeable future? And sometimes when we're especially like very goal oriented, it is, I'm doing this as a means to an end. It is simply, this is the path to get to this, and that's what I'm doing. And I would challenge us, because I'm including myself in this, that the greatest disconnect is that we have to be okay with the journey. Now, that's not to say that you need to know all the steps, but whatever you decide that you're committing to as part of that journey, you have to be okay with the fact that this journey may or may not get the result in the timeline that you desire. And as a result, can you be okay with the steps that you're taking? Can you be okay with the journey? Can you say that this is part of the process and that you can find joy and fulfillment and satisfaction from the steps that you're taking? Not just the outcome, not just the result, not just whether or not you hit that next goalpost. Because when we do that, achieving the goalpost becomes the cherry on top. And instead of it being, I've done all this work for that. I hope that makes sense. So I'm just taking a look. Yeah. Because when we achieve results and we keep going, if we keep our eye on the prize and that's the only reason why we're doing it, then we've missed the point. And that's when a lot of times burnout happens, lack of fulfillment happens, a search for deeper meaning and purpose happens, because we kind of wonder, what the heck am I doing this for? Why am I here? How did I get here? And I hope that in having this conversation today, and you can let me know if you're watching on the replay or live, you know, what your thoughts are, and if you have any other questions or commentary that you would add to this conversation, that success is not something that we need to be ashamed of. It is certainly not something that we need to shy away from, right? It is something that we wholeheartedly should be embracing and be okay to pursue, and to pursue with vigor, meaning like just go all in on the thing that you desire. I think those are noble pursuits. But at the same time, if we do it only for the purpose of being successful and wanting the accolades from other people and to fill the holes or the gaps within us that maybe have not been addressed, that the pursuit of success simply for more success is going to be empty and meaningless. And it's one of the reasons why a lot of people who have been successful then hit a point where they become destructive and they self-sabotage and things start to go as opposed to up and up and up and up and up. And and you may have seen this with people where you wonder, like, what the heck just happened? What's going on with them? It's because at some point, high achievers, if it's been dysfunctional, right? And that's why I put that caveat in there. It's not always the case, but from my experience, especially in working with high achieving women, that this is often what happens, is that there's a level of success that you've accomplished and you've achieved. And then when you're trying to level up, it is very lonely because nobody else can relate to you, and you can't relate to the people that you used to spend a lot of your time with. That can be heart-wrenching sort of realization. Number two, that at some point, the things that you wanted or that you now have, they don't give you the same level of satisfaction or joy or fulfillment. And then you wonder what it's all for. And so impact as opposed to income is equally, if not more important, especially if you have already accomplished a certain level of success. And so if you're on here right now because you have desires or designs to become a millionaire or a billionaire even, I want you to, this is the action piece for today, I want you to think through not just what you will do with that money in terms of like the stuff that you'll buy and the places that you'll go. I want you to really think about, how does that help you to create more impact in the world? And hopefully you'll be able to create impact, not just with the end outcome of being a millionaire and having that level of wealth and success, but as you journey to get there, because ultimately that's what it's all about. That if we have a disconnect between our pathway of where we are now and where we want to get to, simply because we just I want to fast forward into the future to get to where I'm already have that level of success, we've missed the point. And that's when you've accomplished that level of success, that goal, right? I want to buy a house. And then you're kind of like, okay, can you still enjoy having the house and want whatever is next? Or do you feel like, oh, I got the house, now what? Now, you're already on to the next thing without really being able to enjoy what you've already gotten, right? And that disconnect is going to cause you to not want to necessarily pursue bigger goals, and or when you achieve or continue to achieve bigger goals, you may wonder what's wrong, because I'm not getting the same level of satisfaction. I'm not getting the same level of fulfillment. I'm not getting that same like thrill of the chase, so to speak. And it's because the disconnect is keeping you from actually being connected, right? To not only your truest self expressed through your goals, expressed through the results, expressed through the desires and the fulfillment thereof, but ultimately that you are not enjoying the process, like the pathway to get there, that you're not quite in it at the same time. Okay? So that was a quick recap. We will be back tomorrow talking about another topic that might be helpful for you. I hope these are helpful for somebody who's watching live or on the replay. I know that if you have just joined me for the first time and you don't know who the heck I am, chances are very high that you were meant to watch this. And so my hope, my prayer for you is that you are always at the right place at the right time, and that you have faith and trust that the level of success that you've already accomplished has prepared you to get to your next level. And that when you consider some of these things that I have discussed here, that you are not crazy for wanting more. You are not too much for wanting a better life and then continuing to improve and improve and improve, even if nobody else understands why you would want that or what that would look like. And that even if you've hit a plateau, because the level of success that you've hit and the level of success that you want, there feels like there is something not quite aligned or missing, that if you keep moving in that direction, if you do some of these exercises that I'm putting in these videos, that it will help you to tap into what it is that you are actually needing to do. And if I can help you with that in any way, feel free to send me a message. Feel free to connect in some way and let me know what's going on for you. And we'll see if there is some resources, guides, or even my direct help that might be helpful for you. So with that, we will talk to you tomorrow. Thanks so much, and we will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.